Just make it work. Okay. Tilly, are you ready? Okay. With that, it is 7 o'clock and I would like to call this meeting of the town board of town of Northeast to order. It's Thursday, December 8th, 7 o'clock. And please join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Billy, could you please conduct the roll call
Yes, Supervisor Cannon,
here?
Councilwoman Morrison. Here. Councilman Fidele,
Here.
Councilman Midwood,
Here.
Councilman Cooper.
Here.
Okay, the board is all here. You have all received a copy of the agenda for the meeting. I have a number of changes that we need to make to the agenda. First of all, I would like to remove number 10 with regards to the solar array on the landfill and deal with that down the road. I would like to add a resolution regarding special town prosecutor, which has been presented to the board today. I would like to add setting a date for the reorg. And Sam Bussell has asked for tone on the agenda, which we will add at the end. I think those are the three things. And, well, no, there's another one. The housing report, which has been distributed to the board, the new grant project. We'll be discussing that as well. With those changes, I would entertain the motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We have a lot on the agenda tonight, so I'm not going to give a lengthy speech. As you know, I've often started our meetings for the last 3 years with a comment about COVID, and happily we don't have to do that quite as much as we did because it's reduced. But other things seem to be resurging, so everybody is trying, I think, to as best they can to be careful and look out for themselves, and I encourage people in the community to do that. So moving right along to our highway report, I'm going to give it for Bob, who could not be here. Basically, there's a lot of work going on up at the highway garage site, Route 22. It looks like a mess at the moment, and it is a little bit of a mess at the moment. They're putting in this drainage work. And it's for those who are so interested in this stuff, like me, it's fascinating because this is instead of a retention basin, which there really wasn't room for in that site, it is a subterranean retention basin. It's a series of very large pipes which hold water when there's been a rain event and then trickle it out into the stream slowly. Anyway, that big project is what's going on when you drive by. And it should be completed in the next couple of weeks. We've been very lucky with the weather on that. Assessor. Catherine, your report?
No report, general report. I just have 2 items of litigation for the executive session later.
Okay, thank you. Tilly, you have presented the board with planning, zoning, and building department reports.
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
and everybody has those.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Lana, I think you were gonna give.
Just a
report
little
on
update.
recreation.
On the recreation. The park, they've completed phase 1 and they're satisfied with it. Now they're gonna go into phase 2 and they're gonna focus on the pool because that seems to be where the interest is. However, to have the pool, it requires a certain number of bath facilities, so they decided rather than constructing a new bathhouse right away like they had initially planned. They're going to expand the existing bathhouse. And that'll minimize the expense right off, and then they'll save building a new bathhouse at the end. And they have a 6-figure endowment that started, and they can't really touch that for a few years for the plan that it'll grow. And that'll certainly help toward all the maintenance to keep the park going. So. Pretty happy with where they're at so far with that.
Okay. Thank you. And it looks like we have an in-person police report tonight. Yeah. Yep, great.
So there was a total of 21 calls, there were 12 in the village and 9 in the town. And there were no arrests this past month.
Mhm. Okay. Can you characterize this year? As, of course, this is sort of the first post-COVID year, but
Yeah, the numbers were down compared to last year, the same month. I wrote the numbers on the bottom there for you. There's a total 19 in the village and 26 in the town. So
Oh,
the
right,
numbers-
yeah.
The numbers are down
oh yeah, that's,
this year.
yeah, okay.
And that's been, we've seen that basically the whole year, just this past month.
Mhm. Okay. Anything in particular in this that you're seeing that gives you concern in terms of types of incidents?
No, you guys might have heard about the park incident where there's
Yeah.
criminal mischief in the park. So we are working on that. Arrest will be made here very shortly.
Really,
They just met with the DA's to that office today, so
good,
working on moving forward and making some arrests with that to bring them to justice.
yeah, that's good. I've
There's a lot of
wondered,
people involved.
a lot of people.
Yeah, there's about a dozen.
Really?
Wow.
Well, it's too bad when, you have a facility as beautiful as this one is with so much work.
Yeah, brand new
It's cool.
facility, it's,
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, all right, well, this will go up on the website as your reports do. And appreciate your stopping in to see
all
us.
right, have a good night, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay. Where are we turning this? Oh, we're in schedule. Any public comment on agenda items only? You want to speak at once? Okay, I think the answer is no. So we have a public hearing, but, and I don't, yeah, so we should wait 5 minutes for that. Would you, Warren, like to then, describe the resolution regarding Habitat for Humanity? We might be able to get that out of the way in 10 minutes. This is a parcel of
Right.
land. The resolution has been distributed to the board.
Yeah, just
But this is a parcel of land.
let me pull up file.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll just describe the project. It's a parcel of land on Red Pond Road. 6/10 of an acre owned by the town. It's vacant land. There's no structure on it. There used to be a structure on it many years ago. It was called the Mouse House. Apparently, there was some kind of mouse breeding facility there for research purposes. Anyway, it's been sitting there for a while. The town has no use for it. No plans to build on it. I think at one point the town thought maybe they'd put a water tower there or something like that. And so we were approached by, well, we actually had, the board will recall that I mentioned just selling a piece of property. The board did pass a resolution authorizing the town to sell the property. In the meantime, we were approached by Habitat for Humanity of Dutchess County, who was interested in building a house there for one or more families. And I looked into it. I went and visited one of the Habitat projects over in Wappinger. And I was very impressed by what they were doing, and they get families that move in with, who are part of the community and who have equity in the building. Building goes on the tax rolls, which it is not at the moment. So, having talked to the board about it, the board was interested in the idea of Habitat acquiring the property at a reduced rate. And so with that, Warren has prepared a resolution authorizing me to sign that. And you had some back and forth with the attorney from Habitat?
Yes, I've discussed this with counsel for Habitat for Humanity. And we've actually had a title search. They provided a title search. Of course, everything is clean. There's no problem with the sale. There was a question, we're selling it to Habitat with restrictive covenants to guarantee that it'll be used for affordable workforce housing. And there is a provision in the contract that until such time as it's actually sold or the rental period starts, if it's doesn't go forward, then it reverts to the town. We're selling it for $25,000, which we suspect is probably a little bit less than its fair market value. Done some research on that, and the Attorney General of the state of New York has issued several opinions that a town can in fact sell a piece of property that is of no use to the town to a not-for-profit for such as Habitat for affordable workforce housing at below its fair market value. So we're not in violation of Article 9 of the New York State Constitution, selling it at $25,000. I prepared a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the contract. It's been reviewed by Habitat. They signed it, they're ready to go. And it is subject to a permissive referendum under the New York State Town Law 62.2. So the resolution will have to be published. And if there's no petition for permissive referendum, the resolution becomes final.
Okay. Well, this is, I guess the only item after passing this resolution tonight and waiting, we have to wait for the permissive referendum period to end, would then be to sign the contract. So would I wait till the end of the permissive referendum period to sign it?
Yeah, you can't sign the contract until the permissive referendum period is over.
Okay. So that's what that's after passing that, that is the next step. We have a little.
Yeah, but I have their check in hand, down payment check, we're all set to go.
Okay, well, we do like getting checks here. Does the board have any comment on this? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, could you give the roll call on this one?
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Cooper,
Aye.
Councilman Fideli,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
All right.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay, motion is passed. Warren, will you advise them tomorrow that the motion was passed, that this was
I'm
passed?
sorry. I haven't been able to hear since I've gotten off plane, so I'm under medication trying to get my hearing.
Yeah, well, I may be shouting at you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Will you let them know? Will you?
Yes, I'll be in contact with
Okay.
Steve Time and their attorney. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. All right. So with that, at 7:15, we now have a public hearing on the proposed local law of the town of Northeast, amending chapter 155 of the Code of the Town of Northeast Taxation, Article 1 thereof entitled Senior Citizens Tax Exemption. I'd like to ask for a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The public hearing is now open. Anybody would like to comment from the public hearing on the senior citizen tax exemption? Now is the time. All right, not hearing any. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We've held the public hearing. The next item on the agenda is approval of local law, town of Northeast. Dutchess County amending chapter 155 of the Code of Town of Northeast Taxation. Article 1 thereof entitled Senior Citizens Tax Exemption. This is what we've discussed at previous meetings. We've made an adjustment in the income criteria for eligibility for the senior citizen exemption. I think that this adjustment was in the best interest of the senior citizens, especially those who are in fixed incomes and whose incomes are hard pressed in this environment. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve of the local law.
So moved.
second,
Yes.
You do a roll call on this?
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Cooper,
Aye.
Councilman Fidele,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
aye,
5-0.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We have gotten to the discussion of the town's wastewater district. And this is an exciting moment as far as I'm concerned. This is the single biggest project that this town, this community has in front of it. At the moment, it is the #1 objective and priority established in the comprehensive plan was the establishment of a sewer for the village of Millington and for a portion of the town. And I have heard nothing in the last few years to make me change my view that this is an essential project for this community. This wastewater system will be the part of the village. It will be administered, it will be owned and operated by the village of Millington. The concept, which Aaron Moore from Time Bond is here and going to present the map plan and report. But the concept is fairly simple in one sense. Nothing is simple about this project, but in one sense, the village is going to establish a wastewater district, which is the village. In fact, I think it doesn't even have to formally establish a district. The town is going to establish a wastewater district, which for the town will be essentially the boulevard. And that at some point down the road, they get joined. because the flow will come from our wastewater district into the village's system. So there are a series of steps, many steps, which are required for a small, not particularly wealthy community, rural community, to try and build a sewer system. And obviously, the biggest job in a way is raising the funds to do it. And that process of acquiring grant funds from lots of different sources has really not started yet. So what you're going to hear tonight is a design of the system without grant funding. So the numbers are, they're intimidating, because if we just build a system without grants, it would not be cheap. It basically wouldn't be affordable. Anyway, there are a series of steps which have to be taken. There was, I think, the first step was a system design or preliminary design, something like that. Anyway, that preceded the map planning report. And then I don't know who came up with the name for this particular report. It's called a map planning report. Really a musical name for another document. But, and Aaron will describe this document, but essentially describes the district. It describes how it's going to work. It describes what the flows are going to be. And the flows are really important to this project. Because the balance of flow coming from the town versus the village affects everything. And as you will see, a lot of the numbers in terms of the costs of the system are divided between the village and the town based on the proportion of flow. So anyway, I'm going to take a breather and let Aaron walk us through the map plan and report. This document is required. It's an essential. You don't move forward without a map plan and report.
Exactly.
Right? And then there are a lot more steps down the road. But I'm going to shut up and let Aaron describe this. You see, John?
Yeah.
So this is gonna be this is as we all said, a interesting room, so there's gonna be a lot of walking back and forth.
Yeah.
I have thought about the town so much over the last couple of years that this is the first time I'm in front of the board. I was sitting there just surprised that this is the first time I'm here talking about the project. We've had a lot of confidence, hopefully, that you've had regular updates, and this has been a relatively long process. So thank you so much for having. I've been a wastewater engineer for 22 years. Our office is right in Rhinebeck. And so we've been really doing a lot of work to keep this project moving. And I'm gonna talk about those steps that happened. And then I really came to summarize what's the contents of the map plan report, but I realized we haven't chatted much about just technically what's happening. So I'll go through this, and then if there's questions about, what does this system look like? How does it work? Please, let's talk about it. I can provide more information. So been going on for a while, and I came with a really distinct goal. And I realized, anything's fair game, so.
Aaron, I'm glad you're gonna do that, because while I've tried to keep the board aware of what has been going on, there's a lot of pieces of it that I probably have not told them, so don't hesitate to assume that I've not told them everything.
Is this frustrating for me over your shoulder?
No,
Okay, I'm gonna stay here then.
and if it is, I'll move.
Okay, so the first step of this work was actually started back in 2018, but it's been updated as recently as April of 2022. And that was a preliminary engineering report that the village of Millerton applied for a grant called an engineering planning grant, and to establish the feasibility of doing a wastewater system. And there definitely have been previous reports. I think I have a copy of a report by CT Nail. So I wasn't the first go round. And that report looked holistically at the boulevard as well as the village. And so we revisited it a few times based on, there was an initial hope that it would be a subsurface disposal system, sort of like a big leach field, but then the property wasn't available. And so we've really been through quite a few iterations, but then we had the finalized document that really looked at where the service area should be, and that was finalized in April of 2022. So in the PER, and I'm gonna do this, and if I do an acronym and I didn't define it, just, flag me down, because it's gonna happen. So the service area delineation, which parcels are gonna be served, what's the flow that results from that? The collection and treatment system layout, and then the engineering, putting it all into a report and how much it will cost. And again, that was a holistic look at the entire service area, so the town and the village. So the map plan and report, it's a succinct, almost a summary description of some of the components covered in that PER, but very specific to the town of Northeast. So what's proposed, who's going to be served, how much is it going to cost, and how will it be paid for? And the key contents are, again, the service area, the treatment system, project costs, and how it's going to be financed. So this is the service area. It includes 28 parcels. The number is missing from the lower parcel. Sorry about that, but that's the 28th parcel. There is one residential parcel in this area. Everything else is commercial. And that residential parcel has no interest in being in the system and is at the end of the system. And based
You
on,
can see it, you can see where it is. It's that last parcel right before the Connecticut border. It's the only residential parcel on the boulevard, and they have opted not to be part of the system.
and I'll let, there's different needs for wastewater from commercial and residential parcels. Typically, the residential parcels that we've included in the system are on which are in the village, are very small parcels that are really close together. And when you get to a certain size or groundwater elevation, soil type, you just actually on a parcel so small can't cite a wastewater system that would be compliant with today's Department of Health standards. So those are the type of residential parcels that we included, ones that really, if you built them today, would not be compliant. And this is it's adjacent to water body, but this is a larger parcel, so it's not the type of residential parcel we'd flag as, wow, they really need it. I thought there might be interest, so the next slide is the village's collection service area. Thought just that would be, so you can see, these are pretty simple, these are the same scale. So you can see how tight immediately we get with the parcels, they drop down in size. So some of the larger residential parcels are those who are right along the collection system route. And so, and especially the area that has that, they are very, very interested in being connected. We're picking up the park we were just talking about, up Route 22, and then of course the boulevard's coming in. So it's the as you continue down Main Street. Which I needed to
You
come
want to
here.
show them where the collection actually will be on this?
I'm gonna, and again, I'll have to point to it because that wasn't, I came to be really succinct about this, I didn't think about this. But so this is the boulevard.
Yeah.
So how this system works is what we're proposing to do is what's called a septic tank effluent pump system. And what that is utilizing what in general will be new septic tanks, not existing unless they're relatively new and good condition, watertight. And it's going to pump to a really small force main. So what that means is the solids stay in a septic tank. And there's a really good reason for this. Solids management is some of the most expensive, has a solid amount of liability, can be the most nuisance from neighbors as far as odors. By keeping the solids in the septic tanks and then using the current system for maintaining them, which will be done by the village, not individual parcel owners, is pumped again on a regular basis. So that is 3 for really aggressive use to 7 for maybe a couple living in a residential house. That allows you to really dial in your solids management and also get as much digestion of them as possible. In a big municipal system that has it all in a tank, you have to deal with solids every single day. This means most of the parcels will not deal with solids for years. So for a small system, this is a really good collection system. It's what the Village of Red Hook has just installed. So it's for small flows, it's a really effective system, but it allows
What this means is that what gets piped out is liquids.
in a very small diameter pipe, and we can travel. We want also the parcels to return to their use. So many parcels have big leach fields on them that you really shouldn't be putting under a parking lot, or couldn't put a house or a garage or a different building on. But what we're intended to do is get easements to pump along the back lot, and that gives the parcel everything back that they couldn't use on their site before. So it really allows a lot more use. So there's an easement process. So right in this area is where we'll pop out into the village. So we'll be crossing behind these parcels. Supermarket is over here. Is it CVS? So that's CVS. And head out this way. Down Fish Street and over to Mill Street. And then the next screen shows where the location is. So this yellow parcel is the treatment location. There's 2 components here. One is the standard access will be off of Mill Street, but the village is working on sort of restoring what was a street. It's interesting, if you go in that area, you can see sort of the tree line street, and older aerial photos, you can see the street, but it's been abandoned for a long time. So that's their process. They're working on that. If I turned the flood map later on, we'd see we couldn't get to our treatment parcel during a 100-year storm. So that will be an emergency access should we have a big Webbatuck flooding condition and can't get to our treatment plant. But in general, it's going to be right up South Center at the corner of South Center and Mill. And this is not a traditional treatment plant. There's no open concrete tanks. This will be subsurface units that use a man-made fabric, wastewater sprayed over it in enclosed fiberglass enclosures. Oh, I think I have a picture of it coming next. It gets biology grows on those, it gets treated, it gets disinfected using UV, so there's no chlorine or concerns. And unfortunately, because this already village-owned parcel, no additional land can be obtained, it is going to discharge to the Webbatuck. However, that is a positive. Really, while there is perceptions, this is going to be extremely highly quality treated waste. And in fact, I'm trying to train myself to not use that terminology. We know water is an amazing resource. I think probably most of us have heard what's happened out west, and they're not using that word anymore too, because water is our most valuable resource. So we are treating to recover our water and returning it to the system. And so in this case, it's going to be a surface water system at the very close to the bridge behind where the old highway garage is. So disinfected utilizing UV light and back into a water body. So that is the source. Absolutely.
Question. Can the Webbatuck handle this additional water flow?
Absolutely. It's more than acceptable, and this is a it really depends on the quality we're treating to. This is a very high quality of treatment because of the Webbatuck. In some cases, this wastewater, like certain August, not this August, but certain August, this might be the base flow. And there's definitely cases where we've seen, because of climate change, water bodies that used to flow all the time having drier periods. So I don't think anyone will go to the mat with, wastewater is always a positive to a water body, but in this case, there definitely is positives to, as we look at climate change, to providing a base flow for a lot of aquatic possibility and habitat. And again, we're not disinfecting with any chlorine. It's disinfected with UV light, so the quality of the water return to the Webbatuck is going to be very high quality and may aid in keeping habitat going that sometimes gets lost during really dry summer months.
And it will not affect any of the fish that are in the Weebatuck north of the system coming down, right?
Of course, no. This is absolutely noted from DEC as a trout and trout spawning stream. So that's how they give us the level of treatment that we must do to make sure it would not impact the trout habitat at all. So that's a key thing. So as shown, 70,000 gallons per day. Of that, 12,400 is dedicated toward the town. Based on the size of this parcel, not what we would build. We want to build what's appropriate to the level we're at. But it could go up to 250,000 gallons per day without buying any additional property. I don't know if anyone ever perceives it being that size, but it's really important for, first of all, from the village regulations. They're providing service to a small but very needed part of the village. But it's very important for them to say, if we needed to provide it to the entire village, we have that ability. So there we go, and that's estimated at 150,000 gallons per day total. And so that leaves an additional 100,000 gallons per day. So if in the future there's development or housing projects where we want to see additional flow and expand the treatment system, the capacity and the size of the site is there. But I think we can also see from this is a pretty isolated site. It's very steep down by the road. So you get to the top of the hill, it's a field. The nearest houses are quite a distance away. There's trees. And again, we've chosen a system that is not a nuisance system in any way. I'll flip to the next page to be really mindful about what we're doing and the good neighbors that everyone wants to be here. So in the lower right hand is Hillsdale. That's my baby from many years ago now, but I was the design.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's a great site. It's up, if you kind of look behind Stewart's, you can see it. But the treatment units in here are flat tops. They're the same type of treatment units that we see there, but they were buried flush. And the shed, and there's a generator behind it. This is a subsurface disposal system. So the fields are right here, outside of the fence, but they just get mowed with the rest of the field, so you really can't see them. This is in Hyde Park. So in this case, this is a Dutchess County water and wastewater system. They're pretty familiar with this one. Talked to the operator, and he said, "Wow, I'd really love it if in the winter there was a little bit of freeboard over those lids, so I don't have to shovel them off all the time," which is how this was designed. That's the treatment shed. You can see the generator poking around the corner, really similar, except this is a water body. This is very similar to what we're proposing here, discharging behind the streams right off to the left. And I said this last time I gave this presentation, I should have found a photo. If I was taking this picture and turned just a few inches, you'd see there's a townhouse immediately on this side of this tree, right here. And then on the other side of the stream is the neighborhood's recreational center. So this was chosen because of how such a good neighbor this type of style of treatment system is. So yeah, I will find a picture so you can see just how close the house next door is to this treatment system. Please go ahead.
Does the Hillsdale treatment system service the hamlet, or how much of that?
Yep, just the hamlet. It's a 35,000 gallon per day system. And that's actually very similar. I think this is being 25,000 gallons per day. So a little bit bigger, but there's many, there's a 150,000 gallon per day system, same technology, stream discharge, up Kensington Woods in New Scotland. So there's a tiny little system in front of the supermarket, in front of Hyde Park. You can, you'll see the lid, the green lid. You can, as you go around, you'll start to see these because this is an Orenco unit. They are really well established in the county, which is another positive. The county is very familiar with this type of technology. They've approved it before, and Dutchess County Water and Wastewater operates them. So from a approvability standpoint, it's a very good technology. There's no convincing the regulatory agencies that this is an acceptable treatment system to use. So this is the total project cost, everything, meaning both the town and the village. So collection system, you can see is a major cost here. Because we've got to reach every different part of the community. Treatment system at just near under $4 million for a total construction cost of 8.6. We took that and escalated that number to 2024. And then contingency, engineering, legal, healthy 20% contingency, because we know what costs have done. And we just want to ask for what we need. We don't want to have any chance that as engineers, we underestimate it and then say, you don't have enough money for financing to do this project. So this is a healthy budget, but I think that's the right way to do it. You do the other way and you end up realizing bids come in and you don't have enough money to do it. So I'd rather be a little healthy than underdo it. So total estimated cost is 13.8. Operation and maintenance cost is $144,000 per year. That includes the operation, electricity, just maintaining the site, any laboratory supplies, sampling, which would need to be done.
So that's really, it's interesting that the cost is so much getting it, buying it, putting it in.
Yeah,
Once it's in, the operating it is relatively tiny.
and it's, it's having a salary, but you do contract operator. This isn't something someone needs to be at 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. It's a stop in for a couple hours and do what you need to do annually. So some systems like this are typically operated by contract for hire operators. So they who operate multiple systems. So they'll stop here, they'll go somewhere else, and do their duty. The other task that the operations does, and this is something that there's emergency calls at the septic tanks, but typically you would go out to bid for a period for septic tank pumping and say, we're gonna do, of this, speaking of Northeast, like 3, we're gonna do 3 or 4 a year. And give us your bids and then hire someone, establish a relationship, figure out which ones you're gonna do, and maybe work with that septic hauler for that year, and they'll do the tank maintenance and pumping. So in the preliminary engineering phase, we worked to develop what was perceived as a single-family affordable approach at $600 a year, and then develop the financing based on that assumption. We also assumed hardship financing, which we qualify for hands down, but is not awarded because we were not able to score enough on the IUP, which is the intended use plan. This is not a grant, it's the Clean Water State Revolving Fund list of who they're going to provide financing for. But this year it was a little different because it's a methodology of spending the bipartisan infrastructure law funds. So we're going to work on that. We've had a good debrief with them and figure out how to increase that score. But regardless, that was the assumed approach in the PER. So we've talked now writing the map planning report, and you can't use affordability as a way of developing the financing for the system. It's got to be on a benefit approach. So we worked hard as a committee and developed a benefit approach. So what that means is the one benefit value. So in other words, between commercial and residential, it is one value for benefit. And I'll go on what that looks like. And then for operation and maintenance, there are 2 different fees, a residential fee and a commercial fee. And how that was established was based on, residential is based on average flow. So it's an average flow demand, where commercial is based on more of a max peak capacity, a demand charge, because that's what drives the sizing of everything. And so commercial rate is about 4 times the residential rate, which is the 10 state standards peaking factor for average to peak hour flows. And so from those costs we were looking at, you recall the village of Millerton is 82% of flows, and the town is that's 18. So that's a big number, but this is the cost attributed to the town, is $2.9 million. The annual cost at 4%, so we've used the 4% interest rate now, because we didn't at this point qualify for hardship financing, gets us to $99,000 a year. There are 67 benefit units, and that ends up at a cost per benefit unit of $14,082. So that's
1,400.
sorry, 1,400, 14,000, and you shut me out the door. $1,482 per benefit unit. And how does that get allocated? There's a schedule. And this is impossible to read, so I'll just try to describe it. It's just too much information. So for instance, a dentist is one benefit unit per building and then one per chair. A dentist is a little higher flow developing.
And this is in your report.
It's in the report.
Yeah.
Read it at your leisure.
Now, there are no residential persons within the town, but that is included in the schedule as well, and this schedule is completely consistent with the village of Millerton. So a business in the town of Northeast and a business in the village of Millerton are not going to be judged two different ways. It's really important. The schedule is consistent between the two communities. So there is I think it might be a hope that there could be residential units eventually using. So it's one benefit unit per single family, two benefit units per two-family house, three-family house, etc. And so we've tried to cover every topic. If anyone notices something that is really important, and of course we have an extra commercial use not included in the schedule, but if there seems like something amiss, I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so when you look at this in your reports, think of the boulevard. Because these are all the different uses, commercial uses. Dentist, retail, gas station, this, that, the other thing.
Yeah, restaurants, supermarket, hotels.
If anybody thinks of a potential, even something that's not there now, but might be there someday, definitely mention it.
Yeah, because it's sort of odd, and we probably can let it continue to stay in commercial, other commercial. But if it's obviously something, especially something higher water using, and I missed it, I referenced a lot of other documents, but let me know. Because we want to have the best table possible to capture all the uses. So operation and maintenance. So we already talked about the capital cost, that 1,482. So now we're going to our operation and maintenance costs. So all fees are based on the average flow, 225 gallons per day increments. So the residential rate is $197 per year. Commercial rate is $788 per year per $225 225 gallon increments. And I already talked about this. I jumped ahead, but the reason for that differential is because of the difference of the peaking factor applied in a demand charge methodology between commercial and residential. So our anticipated user fees, and I put what is the second one? I don't know, something snuck in there. To remember what this is. I think that is something that I was looking at for comparison, and now needs to be read. This is the one we care about. Sorry about that. This looks like an old village one, and I must have been doing, look, I didn't delete it. So 2 benefit units is the average small commercial. So that's $2,965 a year. The O&M is stated $788 for a total annual cost of $3,753. And that's $312.75 a month. If there was residential, it would end up at $139.95 per month. This is with no grants at all. So this is just the whole unit amount at a 4% financing. We'll forgive this second table, and I'm not sure what early is anymore. Okay. So is that affordable? That's a good question. General affordability really focuses on single family units, and we don't have here any at this moment that we're serving in the town. With the state control office of the state comptroller, that is less than 706, but that's really important. It's without hookup costs, because originally when those rules were met, they were assuming that the hookup cost, meaning the cost from the house out to the main was gonna be paid for by the homeowner. So hookup costs are ranging between $20,000 and $35,000. So when we take that out, it's $999 without hookup costs, so that's still more than $706. So we would need permission from the Office of the State Comptroller to continue forward. And that's something Warren can speak to as far as that process. EPA also provides affordability index. So if your bill is less than 2% of the median household income, it's affordable. And you can see for a single family house, we're still about $300 over that. And for reference, I thought just again, Village of Red Hook, their cost that they've continued forward with is $1,027 for a single family parcel, but they've received $1.6 million in grants. So kids, they have received some substantial grants in their cost is still over $1,000 for that would be attributed to a single family home. So we're high, but we're not out of the ballpark of what is considered affordable. So I think that's important to know that it may seem like a very large number, but New York State and the EPA and what other communities are doing, it's really not that far apart. So I heard Chris say we like getting checks. And so someone said, look, so how we're gonna get some checks. That's what we want to do. So we did apply for the WQIP. That has not been awarded through the consolidated funding application. That's something we need to do some investigation on. The project is listed, as I was mentioning, on the Clean Water SRF intended use plan, but it was not high enough for getting, our score was not high enough for the bipartisan infrastructure law grant funding, nor hardship financing. Again, we had a good debrief on that and are gonna sort of talk about if there's a way to increase our score. We have not applied for the WIA grant. That's the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act funds. These two funds are really based on water quality. And they've been pretty generous with our scoring. However, it's really hard to get funding for water quality because to score a lot of points, we would have had to pollute the drinking water. And I know we want funding, but we also are very happy. We have septic tanks and septic systems have not polluted the wells that serve us and drinking water. So while we want more points, kind of happy we don't get points for that, right? We want high quality drinking water. And obviously that is unimpacted by septic systems. So this is an infrastructure grant that takes into consideration a lot of different things, including need and economic development. So we're looking forward to applying to that grant. However, this is very important. Things that must be in place before we can apply. You must have a district form. So that's an essential item. If you don't have a district form and we don't have an intermunicipal agreement, we can't apply for that grant. So that's why we need to continue this process so we can go after every bit of money that's out there to apply to this project. Just had a great call with rural development. And they did provide a good amount of the funding for Red Hook. So we are going to, and that is a rolling grant application process. So we don't have to wait till summer. So we'll be applying to rural development. Also, there's a lot of business. And especially here in the town, it is serving business. So we have noticed Empire State Development and we'll be looking for seeing what they can do with us and work with us for getting some funding.
Yeah, and just worth noting on that, the Empire State Economic Development is awarded when there is the potential for it to benefit a new commercial development. So with the potential developments on the boulevard, that becomes particularly relevant. So it's certainly something that we're going to be looking at.
For this, we'd be looking for a teammate, a private developer or teammate to pursue those funds. And then I think for the salt shed, we pursued these funds. I know we're not super attractive because we're kind of far away, but we're 100% in the watershed and completely qualified to apply for this. So we'll continue to look at the Long Island Future Funds. So those are all the resources that we will use to continue to do this. To bring that cost down.
So the thing that, we need to do, which Aaron just talked about, there are two tasks we have here. We have to form the district. And Warren was going to talk about forming the district. And we need to have an intermunicipal agreement with the village of Milton. Basically, there's a lot of things that need to be discussed between the village and the town. Cost, among others. And it needs to be defined. You can't go into a partnership like this and have it on a wing and a prayer. It really needs to be defined. So those are two big priorities for us in the next, I'd say in the next 5-6 months.
So our first step is completing the seeker process. The village took the lead agency in the seeker process. Every agency under the sun has been noticed. There was archaeological work that was done both here in the town, done in the village. There was ecological assessment done at the treatment plant site. All of those reports came back. They're done with the satisfaction of all the agencies.
Bob turtles?
Bob turtles are, Bob, drop it down to the end of Mill and South Center and look up that hill. We have like mountain climbing bottom turtles. No, it turns out we do not have mountain climbing bottom turtles. So shockingly, there are no bottom turtles.
Happily.
Yes. If the slope is, would be very interesting. The ecologists who did the report said, what? You're up a slope like, and it's anyway, go take a look and see what the turtles are not scaling. They are not scaling the hill. So that is anticipated to be complete in early January, and that will be the end of the seeker process. Which is based on all the work that's been done, is very much so expected, obviously, to be a negative net get. So that will close that process, and that must be done before the district formation. I noted petition process, but that will be something that Warren would be leading as far as what is the best way to do the district formation. And here we are again. Got bullets for you, Chris. Develop the draft sewer use laws and intermunicipal agreement. And it's going to be really important. The sewer use law is consistent between the town and the village. So in other words, what's the process? What are things? Be a good opportunity for me to make sure everyone knows what goes down their toilet and into their septic tank, which is not diapers or kitty litter or baby wipes. None of those. They should not go in anything. They should go in the garbage. Everyone doesn't know that. It's my public service announcement. Please do not flush any of those items. And sewer use law will memorialize that, because if someone sends something down the line that causes costs to the town or the village, there's got to be a methodology to come back and say, you violated our sewer use laws by throwing these 10 baby diapers down into your system, and we need to fix your pump now. It's on you. So during this process right here, the entire process, initiating design. The town and the village have received $200,000 from Dutchess County to do preliminary design. That's going to include not a tremendous amount of engineering work, a lot of the background work, all of the survey for the entire area, all of the geotechnical work. We need to make sure we know where bedrock is, what kind of soils are under the path of the collection system. And the intention is to go house to every part of the system and verify where the pipes are leaving currently. And so that pretty much, that preliminary phase will establish existing conditions. And so there is funding for that phase, which is great. And then a 9-month design period is assumed. After that, it's submitted to DEC for approval, and of course, I should have put Dutchess County, will be looking at it as well. At the same time, they're gonna do their review. And probably Dutchess County will actually lead the process, although it's DEC who provides the permit. That is definitely a 3 to 4 month procedure while we wait to hear back from them. And then during this entire time, we can pursue funding after we've broken ground. If it's complete and operating and running and there's no contractor left, that's a point where grants close to us, but during the entire process, we can be looking for funding. And 12 month construction period and service would start. I guess I felt like I said that twice, 12 months twice.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask the question that I know the board would like to ask. If everything went perfectly, or let's just say pretty well. What year are we looking at?
So going down district formation. So let's say in January, someone's picked to do preliminary design. Through 2023, you'd be right at the change of close to the end of 2023, doing bidding and award. Then 12 month of construction period would be the very beginning of 2025 that we'd be looking at startup and operation. So if we just
So that's a,
we
that's,
just had a cha-ching and we got a big check, that's what we'd be looking at.
Yeah.
So, but there's plenty of these action items that should be proceeding right now. That there's no pause. Because they're relatively, lower dollar figure, and district formation isn't a topic that's even grant fundable. So, through that process, but there's a lot of things. So this project is not just sitting stagnant, waiting for funding. There's many activities that can happen at the same time when we're pursuing funding. Well, I don't know if I have any, I think that's it,
Yeah.
yes. So is there any questions from the board or however, because that I can talk more about some parts of this project you'd like more understanding?
well, I think we want to talk about district formation. And that, we're gonna look to Warren to talk about district formation and how we do that. And I think there's several different ways that we can do that.
So should I just get this off the screen for now? So
I
it can be
I think so, because I think, we've got this, the board has copies of this.
Great.
Anyway, I think we can all see that this is an enormously ambitious and important project, and it's not an easy project. It's complicated and it's really hard for a small, modestly financed rural town like ours with small population to figure out how we can pull this off. But other towns have pulled it off, and I think one of the things that is really important from my perspective is that we are resolute and just moving forward, and where we find roadblocks, we look at them and we figure out how to get around them. And how, a lot of this will involve applying for grants and being very aggressive in terms of applying for grants. We're not going to be modest about it. And that includes the state, includes the federal government. USDA rural development, I think, is a particularly important source for us. I think they have, I know they have 0% loan financing, which is available. So it's one of the things that I'm certainly going to be working on over the course of the next, year. But
Can I interject?
yes, please.
One thing I did talk about with rural development, but I'm going to provide more information on is if there is any value to income survey. And for the town, considering there's no residential, it seems like that probably isn't a isn't necessarily an asset. However, we should really carefully think about it, because right now the entire town is being judged on the median household income. And if there is a different approach that would make that more palatable, and the village pursuing that might be a logical thing for them, because no matter where the funding comes from, the project dropping helps everyone. It helps it be more affordable for everyone, so. Sorry, thank you.
That's all right. Lauren, how do we form a district?
Well, we haven't quite decided, it's gonna be under Article 12, and the law is a little different. We have a village is governed by village law. Town is governed by town law, section Article 12. We're probably gonna form it under 12A for the town formation of the district. We have to talk about the petition method as opposed to the non-petition method. Petition method makes it a little easier to get passed. So these are things that I'm gonna have to coordinate and work out with the council for the village. But the basic
The council.
process is that we will conduct a public hearing. And it's very important. This is an excellent presentation, by the way, and I think this project is quite doable. That's just my initial reaction to it. But you have to sell the public on it, because there's a vote for the formation of the district. It's easier if we do the petition method. We don't have to have a mandatory referendum, so we'll work that out.
Is that vote,
And then when we're finished with the whole thing, it still has to go to the state controller for their approval.
Yeah,
But
so Warren, the petition method, though, as I understand it, is if a majority of the value of the parcels in the boulevard want to have a water district formed and want to be part of a water district, we're done.
yeah, if we ultimately, it will be a vote of the majority of the parcel owners
Right.
within the.
So the
district.
important thing for the board to understand is this is not a town-wide vote. This is
No,
a
it's
vote.
only the,
only
only the parcels within the district.
Right,
And I didn't say that, and I just, if that's not clear, the only people paying for this are the people who are served.
yeah,
This is not anything that is assessed to anyone else. The people who are served, the parcel served, that's who pays for it. If there's any confusion over that, so this is not, this is not asking for a payment.
no, this is a really important point, because we're gonna be asked that question by people who live in Coleman Station.
Right,
or
now we'll-
on what-
We'll have to make that clear. I mean, there's a lot of public participation that has to be done before you can get this thing through the public. But the numbers are not out of the ballpark in terms of, we went through this in Hyde Park. And by the time we get to the final numbers, it just didn't work. We knew we couldn't get the votes. But the petition method may be the way that we go, because if we get the 51% through the petition, we can avoid the mandatory referendum. So we'll decide that and figure out how that is coordinated with the village process. But I'm pretty optimistic about this.
Good. Great. Any,
I have a question,
Yeah.
on the, breaking down the cost per like two units of like a standard small business. A majority of that was the capital construction costs. And a smaller percent was the operating expenses. If, let's say, there's a 30-year bond, after 30 years, does that cost then, once that bond is paid off, that drops down significantly?
Well, yes, except we talk about light, right?
Right.
Service life. And so at that point, there may be upgrades now. How long does a concrete septic tank last? A long time. But, there could be, and part of that O&M budget is putting some money away. But at that point, it might be appropriate, in the water district, they just repainted the tower, there are capital costs. So, yes would be the answer, but just keeping in mind that is similar, there may be upgrades, we may need new pumps, things along those lines, but replacement of pumps is in that O&M also, so. I just wouldn't say it's impossible that a new capital project, wastewater project would come along.
Yeah, you may want to, by that time, you may be extending the district, you never know. But the unfortunate thing is that when it's voted upon, we don't have the grants in place. It's not like we have a few $1 million in grants. So part of it has to be an analysis of what the potential is for grants for this project, which will reduce the cost. But that won't be in place when it's voted upon. So we have to provide our
Yeah,
work very hard to try to get those.
right. So which is why, yes, as you said, we have to move forward. Even if we don't have all the grants in place at a particular
That's
moment.
right, when they vote,
knowing-
you won't have that benefit of having that money in the bank. But by the time we get to a vote, we may have a better idea of what may be coming down the pike in
Yeah.
terms. of
I mean,
grants.
the amount of money that is in the system from the Inflation Reduction Act, from the recently passed New York State bond, which includes water and wastewater. The priority which the federal government and the state government are giving to water and wastewater. There's never going to be a better time for this community to build a sewer than right now.
It's a good time.
So that's why we just, push.
And you have more experience in this than I do, but the fact that we don't have residential properties is gonna be an easier sell, at least for our portion of
That's
it,
great.
because it's the commercial benefit that.
Absolutely, and so that, and so
Drive.
the understanding, this is really important from a funding perspective to have the district formation, but that doesn't stop the very aggressive pursuit of additional funds, because we want to see obviously, the village, see their residential rate drop. I think it's interest of everyone. And if there's eventual residential development that would be connected to this system, that we have a rate that's affordable for everyone. But we obviously want the commercial rates to come down as well, but that's gotta happen for it to get to construction, but for the district formation, giving that communication of, we need to form the district to be able to apply for some of the grants that are the most likelihood, have the highest likelihood of being successful, providing successful funds to the town. So it is a bit of a chicken or the egg situation, but I think what Chris just said, there's the largest preponderance of water and wastewater infrastructure funding since the 70s and the passage of the Clean Water Act.
And you asked about the attorney, the approval of the state controller. We're gonna have to start working on that as soon as possible. That will be, we work with our bond counsel to put a package together. There's a lot of work that's involved in getting that submitted. So that's another aspect of the project that we have to start consulting with our bond counsel.
Does that get done at the end of
At the
after
end of it, when it's approved, yeah. Unfortunately,
the district formation?
yeah,
You need an IMA?
yeah, we have to go through the whole process. And then it goes to the controller, but we'll have a pretty good idea, I think, of whether it's going to be approved or shot down by the state controller.
Yeah.
But prior to that time.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the board for Aaron or Warren on this subject? I think it's important for us to finally have a real presentation on this project.
Very
It's
exciting.
the first time that you've seen it, you can see where it's gonna go, what it's gonna serve in the town. We have this one commercial district, not very big. But it is vital for the economic future of our town, that it be vibrant and successful. So the sewer is critical to that.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we're all gonna need to be cheerleaders for this. All right, well, Aaron,
Is everyone, if you think of questions, get them to me, because again, I can't believe it's the first time I've actually. come to this board meeting.
well, you're welcome.
So thank you so
Very
much.
But,
It feels
Yeah.
like I'm definitely over there. It feels like every month, but we've been dealing with a lot of the secret stuff,
Yeah.
so.
Chris, I have a question.
yes.
Is the sale, the final sale of the Boulevard District contingent upon getting this sewer system?
The final sale of, you mean, of the
The
supermarket?
closing of the
Of the
property,
Of the
right?
supermarket property?
Yes.
It's hard to say, but it is essential to any developer's plans for there to be a sewer. I don't know what the exact timing of it is, but believe me, anybody looking at it is assuming the sewer.
Well, we have a meeting tomorrow. More answers on it.
Oh, excuse me. All right, well,
Would it be terribly distracting?
no, if you take this apart, no, go ahead, go right
A
ahead.
short form. Of what she presented. Is there a short form of what you presented?
That's right in here.
Wrap up.
I'll email
Could you email me your presentation? That's very helpful.
tomorrow morning. I don't know, and I don't know. But tomorrow morning, I'll send a PDF of it to everybody.
Pretty good.
I'm gonna have everyone's, I have most, but, and then Chris can disseminate it to everyone I don't have. Great, thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, that's number 8. Number 9, we did already, which is the habitat for humanity. Number 10, I already said we were taking off the agenda.
Nice.
Number 11,
Boulevard District sale.
This makes a lot of sense.
the approval of the contract with Pine Plains Veterinary Services. As you know, every year we approve the contract with Pine
There's no
Plains,
change.
no change in that, so I would entertain a motion to approve. the
So
renewal.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. We have I presented to the board a proposed resolution, it's a renewal really of the appointment of a special prosecutor for the town who it outlines what the prosecutor for the town, what cases the prosecutor rather will handle. And when Warren returns, I will ask him to describe what this is, and we will take care of that. While we're waiting for Warren to come back. Approval of the building department fee schedule for 2023. There have been some, Ken McLaughlin has made some changes to the fee schedule for the building department, which have been presented to the board. I would ask for a motion to approve the building department's fee schedule.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we've got that.
Fireworks.
Yeah. It's taken a long time for us to have that in there, but I think we now have.
Tilly highlighted it, yeah.
More of a system. We need to set a date for the reorg meeting of the town in January. And I'm proposing that the reorg meeting be on the 3rd of January, which is, let's see,
Tuesday.
it's Tuesday, I believe. Because Monday's the 2nd is is a holiday, I think, right?
Mhm.
So it would be Tuesday. Would 5 o'clock work for everybody? Griff, does that work for you?
Yeah, I can cut out a little early.
Okay,
Is this long? Is this a large?
it's not a lot.
Can I just like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. Don't tell anybody that's not alarmed, but no, it's not alarmed.
Mom's the word.
Thank
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
you so much. And I just want to say, it's been really interesting and for me, really fun to have worked with Ty and Bond on this and other projects. But they have really appreciated our community and have given us, I think, really special attention and very high quality attention. So
We,
appreciate it.
I work with a lot of different communities and there's all levels of different engagement from community leadership, from task force members, and then from the community at large. And this is such a pleasure. I wish money could appear, but as far as the commitment of the communities, the willingness to work, the willingness to outreach to residents, it's a pleasure. Because sometimes someone asks you to come and like, you're gonna put a magic engineer on and all of a sudden everyone's just gonna sing Kumbaya wastewater songs. And this is a community of hard workers who really understand that this is a big project, but are willing to put the time in to make it work. And that, from my perspective, is feels like being on a team versus hey, just come figure this out for us. Okay, this has been a really big team effort, and it really has been a pleasure. So thanks for having me. But now you're not going to get rid of me.
Thank you, Warren, could you explain this special project, not special prosecutor, but the prosecutor resolution? Essentially, we have a resolution. Yeah, I'm gonna let you explain it.
I'm sorry,
Here you
I'm gonna let you explain the prosecutor resolution.
oh, okay. No, the
Okay.
prosecutor, this is
Yeah.
the habitat.
I'm sorry.
Sure. Well, we have the idea of a special prosecutor evolved several years ago. I don't remember what administration it was, whether Pataki or Cuomo, where the New York State Police had decided that they were not going to allow their police officers to negotiate and plea bargain on traffic cases, which is a tremendous revenue for many of the municipalities, especially the ones bordering on Taconic State Parkway. So what evolved was the municipalities all appointed special prosecutors to handle that instead of having the New York State Police handle it. I don't know that we had that problem, but it's much easier to have somebody in charge of coming to the court and negotiating plea deals for these traffic cases, because a lot of them are led down from speeding to a parking, something, and it's a revenue issue as well as a safety issue. So we have we eliminated the village court. We have one court now that we've combined the courts. What are we now? The town court? I guess we're the town court.
It's the town court.
Or, yeah. We have one special prosecutor who handles all the prosecutions in those courts for traffic cases, code violations, minor violations, where the state police don't prosecute, or the district attorney doesn't. So that's why we have a special prosecutor, and we needed to update our resolution approving the special prosecutor because there were certain areas that weren't covered by the old resolution.
Right.
And that's what this
That's
is.
what this is.
So I got this information from the DA's office, and
Right.
I'm sure it'll be
And
fine.
the correction on what I sent out to the board earlier is that the amount paid to the special prosecutor is not $350 per session, but $500 per session. But with that, the board has received a copy of the resolution. Do we need to remind, does it need to be read into the minutes?
Doesn't have to be right.
No, okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's do a roll call.
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Cooper,
Aye.
Councilman Fidele,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Morrison.
Aye.
Okay,
Billy, when you send it on to the DA's office and they'll supply it with the necessary letter. If you have any questions about it, let me know.
okay. All right, now we are, the other item that I said I wanted to add to the, agenda for the evening. Concerns housing, and as the board knows. The Foundation for Community Health with Hudson River Housing. Offered a mini grant program. For different organizations and towns to work on projects aimed at enhancing and promoting the potential for affordable housing in our community. And I think this was offered to Pine Plains, and it was offered in Amenia, it was offered here. And as the board knows, we, together with Northeast Community Center, applied for a grant, were awarded a grant, and what we spent our time on was giving us, the town board, and other town boards in small rural communities, a more complete understanding of what the tools are for a town like ours to help create affordable housing. We all know that we don't have the resources to go out and build housing. But there are things that we can do. And this report, which is the culmination of the work of over the past 5 months or so, and which the board has received today, is, I think, a very helpful step. And I think it's going to be helpful not just for the town of Northeast, the village of Millerton, but for the town of Amenia, maybe for the town of Pine Plains, if they're so inclined, but other towns like ours in this neck of the woods. So this was essentially the presentation that we had, our committee gave over at the library annex a couple of months ago. This is pretty much that presentation, but with all the different sources of funding or sources of information and advice listed in one place. So I'm very happy to have gotten this done. We will be completing, we're gonna get back to the Foundation on Community Health and submit the report and make a final report, which we will be able to do within the time frame of the grant requirements. And I'm really very happy about the fact that we've done this. I know that this is something which that Sam and the Tri-Town Coalition have been looking for eagerly, I think, awaiting this report. And Sam has asked for time on our agenda tonight to, I think, talk about plans that the Tri-Town Coalition has for their project for the mini grant. Anyway, Sam, thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's very interesting.
Well, as you can see, we've got some pretty big projects in front of us right now.
We do. And I give you credit for keeping up with it all. And as I mentioned before, either both here and it's you particularly trying to do as much as we can to ease you of the responsibilities of getting housing on the board. Through development and funding. And the initial presentation I was gonna make was to mention the mini grant that Chris mentioned that we got, the Tri-Town Coalition got. And that was to put on an expo, we're calling it an expo, it was supposed to happen sometime this month, but it's gonna happen probably, it's going to happen next year. Which is an effort to to inform the community as to what's available, kinds of housing that they might not have thought of to be more affordable, or the location of the housing, or the clustering of housing, or the tiny housing, or the climate, the effect of good inexpensive housing that would also be easy to heat and the. So all of that is going to be part of this. But what I had also brought to, I think the attention of Chris and as well as Jen and Nijak, is we are sitting now on the most exciting part of all of this. These pieces that have been coming in, pieces from the last 3 years from our working group for the Tri-Town Coalition. It is a working group. It is part of the village and the town. And participants have been attending virtually for the last couple of 3 years. But now that with the report, the toolkit, is it we calling it a toolkit or a toolkit, which is a list of all the things that came up that should be paid attention to, some of which are the responsibility of the town, but many aren't. And also that the comprehensive plan, interpreting the comprehensive plan and what is useful to address the housing issues or the economic issues based on the comprehensive plan, and by all means, zoning issues. So I was really at the sort of last minute to a letter to the mayors and the supervisors, saying that they had $20,000 maximum for a community to try to get in some aspect of community development, housing, economic development, collaboration with people who are involved, and also collaboration, thinking through what we need to do with the comprehensive plan. And the reason I think that we're very well positioned right now to make this and to ask for the money is that we're ready to try to assimilate all the information from these various sources, which the resources that we've been tapping are extensive. The PACE group, the PACE Law Center is one that the town and the villages are using. Nan Stoltensberg is one that was used first of all for the comprehensive plan and now for the toolkit. There are other projects that we've been involved in terms of the Tri-Town Coalition, which is separate, a real separate part of that. We as the working group are doing a good deal of all the work that is necessary for the town and the village. And my and if one reads, and I don't know if this was distributed, but if one reads the proposal, the request for proposal, there about 18 of the 24 bullets are something that we can be involved with. And I think the challenge here is to have the town and the village have and this is due in the 19th of December, but to have a conversation with the resource people from all of these aspects, whether it's the mini grant or whether it's the others that I mentioned, and see if we can put together what would end up to be a $40,000 proposal to get all this stuff together at one time, and to get a specialist looking at all of this stuff and helping us with who's gonna do what and what the schedule is and what the possibilities are, funding is, all of that. And I think, given the fact that, as Chris pointed out, the overwhelming amount that the board has and the village trustees have, to do that in a way that could, most of the responsibility for the recommendations and summary would be from a consultant who would lead the way and tell and sort of spare the town and the village from doing, because we know there isn't any staff to do that. And we are responsible. I've been working on this for probably 20 years, but most recently we're about 6 on housing. And we have pretty good access to an awful lot of resources. And we also have some here in our town. Townscape is a good example. Northeast Community Center is a good example. So I would be very much in favor of getting a small group together to just scope out what we might be able to do in a very short period, in a week, basically, to submit a grant from the town and the village for this purpose. It's $40,000. It's people. It's assembling all this information, and I think we have a great chance at it. And I think we got some very qualified people who could, within 4 or 5 hours, put together the basic. If we could get somebody who could write. So that's my share. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Okay,
I don't know if anybody has had a chance to read this, has it been passed?
no, I haven't, but I will distribute it to the board tomorrow.
Okay, I have a copy here if you'd like to read.
Okay, feel free to leave copies with us if you'd like.
Well, I do have one copy if you wanted to read.
No, but I've got it
Okay,
upstairs, so it's,
fine, very good.
yeah,
So, and if this is a positive thought on your behalf, then we can get right to it. And I think we have a reasonable time.
all right, well, I don't think it sounds like a reasonable amount of time to me.
No,
But-
well, yeah, I mean, I think just because everybody's been working so hard in their own piece, that they would know what they need, and we put it all together and see what we can do.
All right,
And make a huge difference in terms of what we're all thinking and how we're thinking. For
okay,
example, the toolkit. There's also some very good information about housing this AARP put together. It's a real Bible for this type of, the change in how people are building houses and living in houses all over the country. The zoning is out of date for what we're trying to do with different groups
Yeah.
of family, quote unquote, family. Thank you.
all right, thank you, Sam. I think tell me if I missed something here. And I think we got everything.
I think we're public comment.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
well, I see 2 members of the public are here tonight, 3. Anyway, the next item is public comments. And are there any comments from the public?
I'll continue.
No, you got a spot on the agenda.
I really appreciate it, Chris, thank you.
Okay, not
No,
seeing,
thanks.
what?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, though.
Okay, moving along. Supervisors, report. We have a budget investment for a fund. An expense increase of $3,772 less. A revenue increase $3,772 for a net of 0. And highway DV fund an expense decrease of $38,508, less a revenue decrease of $38,508 for a net of zero. And I have a motion to approve the budget adjustment.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I have a special abstract dated November 28th, 2022. Totaling $609.43, broken down as follows. A fund, $609.43. I have a motion to accept special abstract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Special abstract is. I'm gonna pass it down to people's signature. I can't. No, I've already signed it. There's a special abstract dated December 1, 2022. Totaling $43,984.00, broken down as follows. A fund, $20,672.48. B fund, $4,838.24. DB fund, $18,473.28. Do I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I have an abstract dated December 8, 2022, totaling $103,287.46, broken down as follows. A fund, $48,008.47. B fund, $18,454.48. DB fund, $43,382.48. Capital projects H1, $2,057.44. ARPA, $3,136.00. Payroll TNA, $248.59. Could I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Trying to be very efficient here. This was, that was attached to that. No, this is, yeah, actually, this is mine. Voucher Committee for January 2023. Ralph Fidelli, Rick Cooper. You're on deck for next year. Tilly has submitted draft minutes from the meeting of November 10th. I think the board has received them. You all had a chance to look at them. If you found any flaws, now's the time to tell them. If not,
Perfect.
I would have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? If you oppose. So what's it? No. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. We are going to have an executive session with the assessment. So Lauren, I think we're done for tonight. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
This wastewater project is one that we're gonna be talking about a lot. So, we'll be in touch about that.
Okay.
I'll call you.
Happy New Year.
Um, We are now going to enter into an executive session with our assessor, so we're gonna exclude everybody else. But, and we're gonna do a motion in a second, but before we do that, I would just like to say that this is the last meeting of 2022. And which is sort of like, it's kind of a big deal. Makes me a little misty eyed. Anyway, it does make me particularly want just to say how much I have appreciated our town clerk and the work she has done for the town in this past year. It's been exceptional and it's been a joy.
Thank you.
So.
I couldn't do the job without everybody in the building, who's really an expert at this, so.
It's a very,
Thanks to everybody.
it's a very happy place and I hope you can keep it that way. So now we will excuse everybody.
No motion.
We're gonna have I'd like a motion to go into executive session.
So,
Second.
Okay,
Roll call.
roll call.
Yeah, we'll do a roll call. No, it's,
Supervisor Cannon,
aye.
Councilman, Goodrich, Councilman Fidel,
Aye.
Councilman Cooper,
Aye.
Councilman Morrison.
I,
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you,
very
Lorna.
welcome.
I'll see you in the morning.
Okay.
And I'd like particularly also to thank Kathy Chow, Andrew Stamen for being in our audience tonight. I don't know what we do without an audience. So Tilly, I will record who makes a motion to come out of executive session and adjourn.
Thank you.
So if you just.
He's staying anyway, he's my ride.
And then recording.
Hold on, we're gonna clean this thing off. Man. Everybody seems to have left anyway. But hold on. Right there. I got it.